World War II wasn't just fought on the ground, it was decided in the sky. These fighter jets didn't just fly, they changed the fate of nations. The Heinkel HE-178 was the aircraft that started it all. On August 27, 1939, just days before World War II began, this small metallic prototype made aviation history as the first jet-powered airplane to ever fly. Designed by Ernst Heinkel and powered by Hans von Ohein's turbojet engine, the HE-178 wasn't built for combat, it was built to prove an idea. It flew for only a few minutes at a time, had limited speed, and carried no weapons, but it represented a technological revolution. It showed that jet propulsion was real, reliable, and capable of replacing the piston engines that dominated aviation. Without the HE-178's successful test flights, the world might have entered the jet age much later. Though it never became operational, its importance is massive. This was humanity's first leap into the age of modern air power.
The Heinkel HE-280 is one of the greatest what-if aircraft of World War II. It was the first true jet fighter ever flown, beating every country, including Germany's own Me-262 program. The aircraft first flew in 1941 and immediately shocked engineers with its advanced performance. It featured a sleek fuselage, twin jet engines, and retractable landing gear, all cutting-edge features for the time. In tests, the HE-280 outperformed conventional fighters using propellers. It could have entered service long before the Me-262, potentially changing the air war. Unfortunately, engine problems, internal politics, and shifting priorities caused the project to be canceled. Only a handful of prototypes were built. Today, the HE-280 stands as a brilliant but forgotten milestone, the world's first jet fighter, killed not by enemies, but by decision-makers. The Messerschmitt Me-262 is the most famous jet of World War II, the first jet fighter ever used in combat. Entering action in 1944, the Me-262 was decades ahead of its time. With twin Junkers Jumo 004 engines, it could fly faster than any Allied aircraft, reaching speeds over 540 miles per hour. Allied pilots described it as fighting something from the future. It carried powerful 30mm cannons and even rocket armament designed to destroy bombers with a single burst. But the Me-262 arrived too late. Germany lacked fuel, spare parts, and trained pilots. Engines lasted only about 25 hours before failure. And political interference, especially Hitler insisting it be used as a bomber, delayed its deployment for months. Though over 1,400 were built, only a few hundred saw combat. Still, it changed aviation forever, proving the future of warfare belonged to jets, not propellers. The Arado Ar-234 Blitz was the world's first operational jet bomber and reconnaissance aircraft, a sleek machine that looked more like a rocket than a plane. Introduced in late 1944, the Ar-234 was incredibly fast, so fast that Allied fighters often couldn't intercept it. It used two jet engines mounted under its wings and featured a clear glass nose that gave the pilot a wide field of view. The Ar-234 was used mostly for high-speed reconnaissance, photographing Allied positions with ease. In bombing missions, it carried small but precise loads and relied on its speed to survive. It performed some of the last reconnaissance flights of the war, including missions over the Battle of the Bulge. Although produced in small numbers, the Ar-234 demonstrated the potential of jet-powered strike aircraft and influenced bomber design for decades.
The Henkel HE-162 was a jet fighter built during Germany's desperate final months. Nicknamed the Volksjäger, or People's Fighter, it was designed to be cheap, fast, and simple enough for young pilots to fly. Incredibly, the aircraft went from blueprint to first flight in just 90 days, one of the fastest aviation development programs in history. It used a single jet engine mounted on top of its fuselage and wooden wings made from furniture factories because metal was running out. Despite its rush construction, the HE-162 was surprisingly fast and maneuverable. But reliability was terrible. Engines failed, parts broke, and pilots were poorly trained. It entered combat in 1945, but had little effect on the war. The HE-162 reflects both German engineering brilliance and the chaos of a collapsing nation.
The Gloster E-2839 was Britain's first jet aircraft and a direct result of Frank Whittle's pioneering turbojet engine. First flown in 1941, this small experimental aircraft proved that Whittle's design was practical and stable. Although simple in appearance, the E-2839 was vital. It gave Britain the data needed to build real jet fighters. It had a top speed of around 340 miles per hour, faster than many early war fighters. The aircraft never carried weapons and served purely as a test platform, completing more than 100 flights. Its success was the starting point for the Gloster Meteor. Without the E-2839, the UK would not have been able to field jets before the end of the war. The Gloster Meteor made history in 1944 as the first jet fighter used by the Allies. Although slower and less advanced than the German Mech 262, it was reliable, stable, and safe to fly. The Meteor never fought against German jets directly, but it played a crucial role in destroying V-1 buzz bombs, using its speed to intercept them. The Meteor used two Rolls-Royce Welland engines and featured straight wings with twin nacelles. Its performance exceeded most propeller aircraft of its day, and it laid the foundation for Britain's post-war jet fighters. The Meteor remained in service for years after the war and became a key training platform for the RAF. It proved that the Allies were ready for the jet age. The Bell P-59 Aerocomet was the first jet fighter built in the United States. Developed in secrecy starting in 1942, it was powered by jet engines based on British designs. Although the P-59 was revolutionary for America, its actual performance was disappointing. It was slower than many propeller fighters and had poor handling. Test pilots quickly realized it wouldn't be useful in combat, and the Aerocomet never saw action. However, it served a crucial purpose. It trained the U.S. military on how to operate jets, paved the way for better engines, and helped launch America's jet program. Without the P-59, the U.S. would not have been ready to develop the superior P-80 Shooting Star. The Lockheed XP-80 was the first American jet fighter with true combat-level performance. Designed by Clarence Kelly Johnson and his Skunk Works team, the XP-80 was far more advanced than the P-59. It featured a sleek fuselage, powerful British-designed engine, and aerodynamic wings. First flown in 1944, it reached speeds over 500 miles per hour. A few prototypes were sent to Italy in early 1945 for evaluation, but they arrived too late to see combat. Still, the XP-80 was a milestone, becoming the basis for the P-80 and the later F-80, which would see major action in the Korean War. It marked the beginning of America's rise as a global jet power. The Caproni Campini N-1 was one of the earliest jet-like aircraft, though it used a motor jet rather than a true turbojet. First flown in 1940, The N1 used a piston engine to compress air, which was then heated and expelled for jet thrust. While not efficient, it was advanced for its time and made Italy the second country to fly a jet-powered aircraft. The N1 had a long fuselage, a distinctive intake and a slow top speed, but it demonstrated Italy's technical ambition. It lacked performance to become a fighter and never advanced beyond testing. Still, it made Italy part of the early jet revolution.
The Nakajima Kikka was Japan's first true jet aircraft. Inspired loosely by the German Mess 262, it was smaller, simpler, and designed for fast production. The Kikka first flew in August 1945, just days before Japan surrendered. Its twin engines were underpowered, and only 2 prototypes were built. The Kikka never saw combat, but it represented Japan's attempt to enter the jet age during the final desperate months of the war. Despite limited resources, Japan managed to create a functional jet, proving its engineering capability even under extreme pressure.